Welcome to the Freely Rooted Mama podcast. Where I am their mother, I make the choice. All right, welcome back to another episode with me. Happy Thursday. All right, today I'm going to kind of do another tangent conversation. So if you guys usually what I do is I write out a bunch of notes so my postpartum brain can remember oh yeah, I need to talk about this, this, and this. And I don't go on too many tangents, but sometimes I just feel like talking, just like I would with one of my best friends and just having a conversation. So if you're these episodes are way too rambly and tangenty for me, just let me know and I will structure them more. But sometimes I just also feel like being authentic and here's what's on my heart. Here's what's on my mind. And so today I'm going to talk about this concept of our overstimulated children. Kind of before I launch into this, I know that one of the things that come up when I have this conversation is, well, I watched TV as a kid. I watched movies as a kid. I played video games as a kid. I played computer games as a kid. Gosh, do you remember the days of computer games? I mean, I know that there's still computer games, but remember The Sims, when The Sims came out? Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Anyways, sorry, tangent. I did all these things and I'm fine. But I want to look at that word of fine or I'm good. But are you actually good? Is your health actually optimal? Do you sleep great? Do you have digestive issues? Do you have anxiety? Do you have depression? Do you have mood swings? Do you have hormonal imbalances? Do you have an afternoon crash? Do you have constipation? Do you have diarrhea? All of these things interconnect to our lifestyle. And part of our lifestyle is this concept of being stimulated all the time. So yes, when I grew up, and I think many of my followers are around my age, having children, when I grew up, did we watch TV? Sure. I remember watching Cops on Saturday night in the living room. Was it probably age appropriate at the time? I don't know. Would I let my kids at 7 probably watch Cops? Probably not. I mean, they were arresting people doing drugs and hookers. But we're living in a different time. We know more. So this isn't a bashing to my parents at all. Yes, we watched TV, we watched movies. My brother was huge into playing video games. We played video games. Video games today are a lot different than the video games there. Yes, we did all those things. And we did a lot outside. So when I look at fine, yes, you need to also analyze whether you're actually fine or not. But when I look at our childhood, yes, we did those things, but we had a lot of time outside. I mean, we didn't have cell phones then, so we weren't constantly connected to the world. We would maybe get to watch a show in the morning and then maybe a show in the evening, maybe an hour of video games during the day or computer games, whatever it was. And then the rest of the time had to be doing something. We were very much we weren't being catered to if we were bored by a device. We had to go build something with Legos or go outside and build forts or play with animals or play games outside, jump on the trampoline, exert energy. So while we did those things, we also combated that with a lot of outside time. If you go follow, I think it's 1,000 Hours Outdoors. They've got an Instagram. They've got a really great cause of getting kids to spend 1,000 hours outdoors. That's the world we're living in. We're 1,000 hours outdoors is hard to achieve for most kids today. That's scary. I mean, we spend so much time outdoors. Kids today are not spending that much time outdoors, and they're spending a lot more time either glued to cell phones, glued to iPads, glued to a TV, glued to video games. And I get it. The TV is I don't mean this to sound harsh, but great babysitter because it's stimulating to the brain. I mean, and it occupies the brain, but it's also overstimulating to the brain, especially young kiddos. So if you look at books and TV and movie, let's even take a movie. Let's take a Disney movie back from when we were kids versus a Disney movie today. If you watch them side by side, ours were hand-drawn cartoons that they animated. Today, with technology and stuff, I mean, they make some incredible movies, don't get me wrong, but it is overstimulating to that tiny brain in your kid. And when they are sitting in front of that, and I'm not saying the occasional movie is going to harm them or kill them, but when they do that hours a day, and that's just the TV. Now they maybe sit with you and watch you do look at TikToks or Reels on your phone. That counts. And then maybe they play with an iPad, they play a game on an iPad. All those colors, those frequencies, the constant movement, the sounds is very overstimulating to the brain. And sometimes when the brain is overstimulated, it goes into like this comatose state, right? Where it just like clocks out. So yeah, they'll probably be zombied out in front of the TV, but their brain is very overstimulated. And we as parents have to be the barrier between them and the technology. And I know it's hard. Like you're trying to cook dinner and you just need a moment to like get dinner on the table, and you got kids that are yelling and screaming and crying and fighting. And so you put on the TV. I get it. I'm not here to like critique, but I am here to say that we got to do better with our kids. We got to do better. There are moments, yes, when technology can be utilized, or you're on a plane ride and you want your kid to, just be calm a little bit. So you put on something. I get it. And our kids need to be outside. That's where and they need to be in nature, and they need to be bored. With boredom comes imagination and creation and using that prefrontal cortex, the development of the prefrontal cortex. Like, we need to let our kids be bored. We need to let them figure things out. This also invokes independent play when they're bored and they got to figure things out. So that's just like one aspect of it. But then the other aspect is like, our kids today aren't sleeping very well. I've talked about this before. Like, are they looking at the blue light on a TV before they go to bed? That blue light into their eye receptors doesn't invoke melatonin to be created. Like, our bodies are so freaking smart that like when the sun goes down and that red light comes into play of the sun going down or the sun coming up, either one, like melatonin gets stimulated from the receptors in our eyes. How freaking genius is that? We have a built-in system to help us go to sleep, but we are crashing that system by having our kids look at cell phones or TVs or excessive light in the house in the evening that doesn't allow that to be secreted. So of course they're stimulated because they're watching something on TV. They're not ready to go to bed. So then you expect them to go into a room and go to sleep? It doesn't work that way. And at some point, yes, our brains can become attuned to, I remember I used to go to bed watching like Lord of the Rings. Yes, once you've watched something a million times, like the brain can clock out. It's not trying to look and expect like, okay, what is coming on? But did I get the best? So I'm not saying that you can't fall asleep by watching TV, but did I get the best sleep possible by falling asleep to the TV? Probably not. Did I survive? Am I here today? Yes. But was I thriving in optimal health? No. So, remember that our little kiddos have developing brains, so much development through this 0 to 7 phase. And so I'm not saying that you need to be this picture perfect mom. I've already gone through the perfection episode about motherhood. You don't need to be a picture perfect mom where my kid never gets any screen time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm human too. I have a long day. I want to sit on the couch. I want to watch something on TV. But I'm also very mindful of what we're going to watch on TV because I know he's watching. So I don't want him to be too stimulated. And does sometimes, something get on TV that is stimulating? Yes. Do I notice it in how he goes to sleep? Yes. Am I a bad mom? No. But, if you're doing this day in and day out where they're watching a ton of TV and they're not getting out into nature, yeah, that's going to have an effect. It's going to have an effect on how they sleep, their mood swings, how they behave during the day, how they eat, how they function in society, how they talk to you. All of that comes into play. And I just think we're living in a very overstimulated society now, not even for our children, but even as adults. How many people can't live without their phone or go 10 minutes without checking something on social media or checking an email or, can't be alone. They've got to have some sort of sound of the TV on or because they can't be alone in their own thoughts because the brain is too overstimulated. So I could go on and on and on into many different aspects of this, but it's just a conversation I've been having with people. And, I really encourage you as a mother, especially if you live someplace where you have dramatic seasons, take advantage. I know it's August, summer's almost over. Let your kids be outside. Let them get dirty. Heck, half the time my son comes in and he's wet as can be from playing with water in a bucket and rolling around in the dirt. But do I care? No, because he has gotten time outside. He's using his imagination. He's increasing his microbiome through the dirt and the water that he's playing with. There's so much good that can come from them being outside, and let them be bored. The things that he goes off and does that I haven't set up for him, that he just goes and finds at just even almost, he's almost 2 in October, amazes me. The amount of independent play that he has, because we've cultivated this environment where like, I'm not here to always entertain you. I want to be outside. I want to be with you. But sometimes I've got to do something in the garden, or I've got to change your sister's diaper, or I've got to play with the dogs because they need to be ran. It lets him use his imagination and figure something out. And that is so good for their brain development, which overall is so good for their emotional and mind and physical development. So anyways, okay, I'll get off my soapbox here for today. Let me know what you think about today's episode. Let me know your experience, if you've noticed anything with your kids and their behavior with, technology, TV, things like that. In fact, just FYI too, as your kids get into their teen years, man, social media, yeah, thank God we didn't have Instagram and things like that when I was in middle school. Cause I don't even think kids should have a phone in middle school, but, even in high school, like Facebook, we had MySpace. Any of you guys remember that? Equally as toxic. Talk about like creating drama. But we had MySpace, and Facebook was just starting when I was in high school. And I thank God that like we didn't have what we have today while I was in high school, because I actually really got to enjoy high school. We wrote notes in high school. Remember writing a note, passing a note? You didn't hide behind a screen all day. And I'm so thankful for that. But man, our teens are growing up in this very comparison, very social media, very let's be snarky as we sit behind a phone instead of having a conversation. There are dramatic downsides to that. And it's being shown, like, how many kids do we have that are depressed, suicidal, anxious? We were meant to live with nature, and we are doing a lot less of that today, because we are living with technology. And technology is so great in so many ways, but it is also really harmful and really needs to be regulated. And it's addicting. We know this, right? You go to a restaurant, and how many people do you see at a table that are sitting there on their phones rather than having a conversation? Grown adults, right? That's a grown adult brain with the ability to understand this whole thing of addiction and regulation. Now we expect our 0 to 7 kids to have that? Absolutely not. Their brains do not regulate that, nor do they always know the difference between, real, like reality and fantasy or fiction. Anyways, okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. I could go on and on and on about this. I hope it's helpful. Find me on Instagram, DM me, share any feedback that you have. I would love to hear. And I hope you have an amazing day.